Please be seated, everybody. Now, if you're wondering, geez, the Rev looks a bit different this morning, and thinking to yourself, well, what is it? New haircut, no beard, new suit? Well, you're right on all counts. But I would like to welcome you this morning, especially to our visitors and friends and little people. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might be Harry Ankel's first chapel service. If that's true, a warm welcome. And of course, I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to our many friends, old boys, former staff members, and others who are watching on the Shawnigan live stream program. So welcome to you. I hope you enjoyed today's service. They say, and I think this is written in the herb garden over by Strathcona on the above the door when you go in, to begin. So we're going to. And to that end, I'd like to call upon the headmaster to share a few reflections with us. Headmaster.
Thank you, Brother DHL. It's been an exciting week with film crews on campus, unprecedented energy, and ear-splitting noise levels in the volleyball tournament, and much more. I was delighted to learn that in Tuesday's chapel, a group of students presented on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, encouraging us to connect this worldwide blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future, connecting to our own world here at Shawnigan. Looking back over recent weeks, there seems to be a focus on T-shirts. First, the Terry Fox one passed runner to runner, and then the grade 12 choice of the word perseverance for the Shawnigan T-shirt. Tomorrow is the 30th September, and it marks Orange Shirt Day, a day when we're encouraged to wear orange as an annual nationwide effort to recognize the wrongs of Canada's Indian residential school system and to honor survivors. Before I go on, I would like to acknowledge that we gather on the traditional lands and territories of the Malahat and Cowichan nations. For those unfamiliar with Canadian history, residential schools operated from the 1880s until 1996. 5 such schools operated on Vancouver Island. These institutions attempted to assimilate Indigenous children into white Canadian culture by forcibly removing children from their families. Children were denied the freedom to speak their mother tongues or to embrace Indigenous cultures. Around 150,000 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis children were forced to attend the schools, with many of them subjected to physical, psychological, and sexual abuse. Even though the schools are now closed, the intergenerational trauma of residential schools is present in Indigenous people's lives and communities today. Orange Shirt Day grew out of the story of a 6-year-old First Nations girl, Phyllis Webstad, who had her shiny new orange shirt confiscated on her first day at St. Joseph's Indian Residential School in 1973. The month of September was chosen for this annual raising of awareness because it is the time of year, historically, in which children were taken from their homes to residential schools. Canada still wrestles with its dark past of the residential system, and it's important for us, with Canadian heritage as one of our core values, to know and to learn from local history. So tomorrow, I invite you to wear some orange and spend a moment reading about the legacy of the Indian residential schools. Indeed, a far cry from the 3 C's of conversation, compassion, and community that we understand at Shawnigan. Let us take a moment to look beyond our safe and secure residential campus here at Shawnigan and to reflect on this chapter of Canadian history and to remember the motto of Orange Shirt Day. Pops. Here is the T-shirt that's been produced with the motto, "Every child matters." Thanks, Pops. Tomorrow's Orange Shirt Day is an opportunity for First Nations, local governments, schools and communities to come together in the spirit of reconciliation and hope for generations of children to come. I learnt this week that First Nations believe that we are gifted with 3 ears, the third being the heart. All of us gathered here this morning can contribute to reconciliation through listening with our hearts. Mrs. Wilkie gave me the idea to invite everyone to sing Renfrew's hymn this morning, appropriate given their house colour is orange. And it's great to see some of the Renfrew girls wearing orange headbands over there. I'm even proudly sporting my Renfrew tie with the orange and the lion on the tie. Oh, I'm being heckled by Poppy. We invite you to consider the message in the first verse, which we're all going to sing. We're not going to just allow the Renfrew girls to sing it, but the whole school will sing it. For with a commitment to forgiveness, reconciliation, and compassion, we can help to melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. By listening and acknowledging the dark despair of the past, we may hopefully begin to build relationships and communities that will continue to move us forward, move towards the light of day. I'm going to invite Isaac up to read a poem on this subject, and then we'll take the hymn all together.
I lost my talk, the talk you took away. When I was a little girl at residential school, you snatched it away. I speak like you, I think like you, I create like you. The scrambled ballad about my word. 2 ways I talk, both ways I say. Your way is more powerful. So gently I offer my hand and ask, let me find my talk so I can teach you about me.
Thank you, Isaac. Okay, folks, and now moving along to Joyful, Joyful, the Renfrew hymn, which is, of course, number 9. If I could ask you to stand, please. Thank you, folks. If I could ask you to remain standing in anticipation of the gospel, and I'll ask Roberto Galindo to come and share that with us.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Then little children were being brought to Jesus in order that he might lay his hands on them and pray. The disciples spoke sternly to those who brought them, but Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not stop them, for it is to such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs." And he laid his hands on them, blessed them, and went on his way. The Gospel of Christ.
Thank you, Roberto. Have a seat, everybody, please. Thank you. There are many compelling and interesting people on campus. One of them, Momin Elandawi, would like to share a few thoughts, insights, and observations of his own with us all. Momin? Voilà.
Good morning, everyone. So the reason I'm up here today is because last year I was walking through Marion Hall and I bump into Mr. Fraser. And as we all do, I just smile and nod. And Mr. Fraser actually stops, puts his hands around his waist, and he goes, "You know, why are you always smiling?" And so this question inspired me to stand in front of you today and share something that has affected me deeply, and I'm pretty sure it will affect you deeply as well. This thing is positivity. Now first, I would like to share with you a story, a true story actually, which will prove to you that not only can positivity facilitate lives, but in some cases it can also save lives. There was once this woman, married, 3 kids, just living a happy life, and so one day she's not feeling very well. And so she goes to see her doctor. Doctor tells her that she's got cancer. Her kids are still young, and she might not even see them graduate. And so the woman cries and cries until her eyes get sore. And she's depressed for 3 months, until one day she decides to fly abroad and get a medical operation that has a 10% chance of saving her life. And so her and her husband walk into a hospital in Germany, and the doctor sees the woman with a wide smile on her face. And the doctor thinks to himself, wow, how is she not crying or depressed? And so he sat them down, explained the process of the operation to them, and he explicitly says that she only has a 10% chance of living after the operation. And the woman replies, again with a wide smile, "I'm willing to take them. I think I'm even lucky that I have a chance." And so 2 days later, operation is done. Doctor comes out of the operation room to a shaking husband, and he goes, "She made it. I've never seen such a strong woman. If it was anyone in there, they wouldn't have made it." Now, in that story, the woman's positive attitude towards the negatives in her lives, which was cancer in this case, gave her the strength to overcome cancer. And so, if that attitude can cure cancer, then I'm pretty sure it can cure anything else. And I'm not telling you to smile 24/7 and ignore all the troubles. We're not robots, we're humans. Obviously there's going to be a time when we feel depressed, or angry, or sad, and that's all right. But don't let these negative emotions consume you. I learned all of this from my dad, because when I first came to Shawnigan, I was just a grade 9 boy, far, far away from home, who very new to a different culture, and I was obsessed with soccer. And so when a 6'5" retired rugby player, also turns out to be our sports director, where's Mr. Murdy? He's not here? Okay. He tells me that I can't play soccer and I have to play rugby. I was crying to my parents on the phone. And so one day I'm calling my dad, and I go, "Dad, I can't be here. I want to come home." And then that's when my dad said this: Why are your eyes only seeing the negatives? Look around you, Mona. You're getting a great education at a beautiful school with 60 other boys who always got your back. There will always be bumps along the road, Mo, but look closely, because there's a lot more around you to appreciate. And from that moment on, I just take a quick glance on my negatives, and I examine my positives deeply. And before I go today, I want to teach you what my dad taught me. Being positive is much like sports and other activities. To master it, you have to practice over and over again. And so I'll leave you with a couple of tips that I do when things don't go my way at first. First off, smile, people. Smile. You don't even know how powerful your smile is, even if you don't feel like smiling. If you learn how to smile in the face of hardships, I swear to you, you will become bulletproof, and you'll feel much better, mentally and physically. Also, you guys have to learn that happiness comes from within you. Now, I know you've read this on Instagram like 1,000 times probably, but it doesn't come from another person, definitely not from money. It only comes from you. The only person that's able to make you happy is you. And my final words before I go today are, there will come a time when that light at the end of the tunnel doesn't seem to be there, but don't give up and do as Gandhi says, and I quote, "Let us rise up, and be thankful. For if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. And if we didn't learn a little today, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So let us all be thankful." Now, before I go, I want you all to stand up. Okay. Fellow students, I want you to close your eyes and smile like chapel just got canceled. All right? And teachers, I want you to smile as if you just walked into class with a pop quiz in your hand. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you keep these smiles on your face for the rest of the day.
Thanks, folks. Have a seat if you don't mind. Now, you'll appreciate, of course, that I'm following detailed notes provided by Reverend Holland. And it says here, time for the musical presentation and to introduce Ms. Tyrrell. Now, Ms. Tyrrell has got something lined up for us that is very, very good. I caught the rehearsal just prior to chapel, but she told me when we were coming in that she was very disappointed that Mr. Doyle, Mr. Murdy, and Mr. Lynn turned her down to perform the medley of Lady Gaga hits that she heard them rehearsing over here. So perhaps that'll wait for another day. But Ms. Tyrrell, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Good morning. I'm going to ask the girls to come forward as I'm speaking. Special treat this morning, a song that I use a lot in rehearsals to get people's attention. I have a lot of nattering kids in my choirs. It's a fun place to be. We get kind of excited, and if I can't get their attention by speaking, I will often start playing the first 3 notes of the song, Say Something. Dum, 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 and all of a sudden the crowd hushes and they all join in. And so this happened last Wednesday, and I all of a sudden realized this sounds really beautiful and it needs to be shared. So this group just learned this song last week. We sing together on Wednesday nights, kind of just for fun, and we thought we'd share it with you this morning. It doesn't have a message particularly for today's topics, other than there is a message in it to say something, to speak out, to stand for something you believe in. So you can take that away from the song this morning.
Thank you, girls. That was lovely. Now it's our turn. And what do we have in store here? Hymn number 13, Be Still My Soul. Please stand. Thank you. Very well done. Please be seated. I'd like to call up Georgia Hall to read the prayers for us this morning, please. Georgia? Thank you.
We take a moment to think about those in need in our family and in the world. Please respond to the bidding, Lord, in your mercy, with hear our prayer. We pray for health for ourselves and for those who are ill among our families and friends. Lord, in your mercy. For doctors, nurses, and other medical professionals, and especially for the staff of our own health clinic, who take such good care of us. Lord, in your mercy. We pray for the ongoing work of reconciliation between all the peoples of Canada, and especially for the First Peoples who have made this island their home for many thousands of years. Lord, in your mercy. We pray in thanksgiving for all the blessings in our lives, especially for our friends and family. Lord, in your mercy. We take a brief moment to consider any other needs in our hearts. Lord, in your mercy.
Thank you, Georgia. Much appreciated. Well, folks, we're almost done here. One more rousing hymn to go, and there we have it. I would invite you to stand and turn your hymnals to number 8, I Hear Thy Welcome Voice.